Great. So we have a lot of folks dialed in, and we'll also be recording this webinar as well. So if you're listening to this afterwards, hello, and thank you for joining. If you're listening to it live, thanks for making us part of your day. My name is Shafqat Islam. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Welcome. I'm excited to present a topic that's near and dear to my heart, which is kind of the marketing life hacks, the equivalent of all the different life hacks you've probably read about and seen over the years, but certainly more during the pandemic. We wanted to bring a little marketing flavor to that. So how we can help your marketing team do more with less. Very briefly about us, you've probably familiar with the name Welcome. We're a marketing orchestration platform, which is essentially a collaboration platform for marketers. And we solve 4 big use cases. Number one is content marketing, so managing the end-to-end content operations. Number 2 is planning, so integrated planning, helping you manage the campaign and content planning process. Number 3 is creative services management. So if you run a creative services team, we help you manage those requests, manage that creative work, measure productivity of your team. And then we also have a DAM solution, which is digital asset management. We're not going to talk about our product. There may be a few places where we sprinkle in how we use our product for some of these life hacks and some of these marketing hacks. But really, this is more about sharing some of our learnings over this past year. And a lot of this comes from surveys that we do. We do a ton of research. We did research prior to the pandemic, during the pandemic, and as we're coming out of the pandemic, we did another massive survey of hundreds of marketers. And we found that things have generally improved. In fact, marketing performance has improved. This chart requires a little bit of a mathematics degree, but what it actually shows you is the percentage of marketers that say that their performance has increased. And the purple line is they've seen a 10 to 20% performance increase. The gray line is a 20+% performance increase. And we've seen, most marketers have seen increases across social, email, content. In fact, most channels, obviously with the exception of events, we've seen marketing performance has gone up. Productivity has gone up. People say their team is more productive than ever before. Yet, we also find that 20% fewer Americans are feeling stressed this year. And not that many are feeling burnt out. And this is a big change, a material change from when we did some of these surveys before, just in terms of kind of the global American stress levels in the general population. So what we found is everyone's less stressed, which is a good thing. The bad thing is this hasn't really seemed to impact marketers just yet. They are as stressed as ever before. In fact, 61% of marketers say their stress levels and work-life balance, it's worse right now than ever before. So it's a double-edged sword, right? The marketing results are encouraging. However, at the same time, it's really stretching the limits of many marketing teams. So if you're on this webinar, you may feel like this. And then we've cultivated this entire lifestyle outside of work around kind of life hacking, with whether you're tracking every step or whether you're using, all the iPhone health apps. If people know what this ad is. There's a San Francisco company called Soylent where they're hacking things so far. It's like, you don't even need to eat food again. You can just work all the time. During the pandemic, everyone was trying to learn a new skill, learn a new language, learn how to bake bread. We're just trying to be uber productive. And we're trying to hack every part of our life outside of work. And so we thought, what if we can bring some of these life hacks to marketing? And so we turned to our team, in fact, the marketing team at Welcome, to see what are some of the hacks that you guys use that you wouldn't be able to live without. And remember, we're a startup, right? We're a couple hundred people. We actually launched an entirely new brand during this pandemic. We used to be called NewsCred, and we became Welcome end of last year. And we did this all remotely with a very small team that's supposed to be agile. We have super aggressive goals. In fact, this is the team. We're going to be focusing on one of these guys today, Sesko, who runs the content marketing and SEO side of our team. And he's really done some pretty incredible stuff. In recent times, he's produced and coordinated and released 100+ pieces of content per month. He manages ever-shifting AdWords budgets that we use for a variety of reasons, both always on and experiments. And so he needs hacks all the time to get it done. And remember, Welcome is built for marketers. So everything that we do use our software to help kind of reduce the amount of stress in our lives and increase productivity. And so, like with any life hacks, here's some of the principles we use for the marketing hacks. We want to basically shorten tasks that normally would take too long, help you accomplish goals, especially when you're understaffed, reduce friction or work about work. You'll hear me talk a lot about that so that we can free you up to work on the important stuff. And so there's going to be 6 hacks that we share. They're listed here. I'm not going to read them all out because we're going to go through one by one. So there's 6 of them. And largely the theme will be, how do you reduce kind of soul crushing, repetitive work about work in marketing? How do you come up with new ideas? What do you do when you have to change, plans on the fly? Never happens to us. We're a perfectly planned out company. No, I'm just kidding. It happens all the time. And then what do you do when your boss comes and says, hey, we need to do more and we need to do it faster, but you're not going to get more resources. So just some of the hacks. And we're going to go super fast because we have an hour, but I'm going to try and give you some time back. And also it'll keep you on your toes. So let's get started. Number 1, it's the work about work problem, right? There's too many non-marketing tasks, non-strategic tasks that need to happen. Status updates, updating PowerPoints, creating spreadsheets, answering the question from sales, hey, where's X piece of collateral? All the stuff that happens that's really not creative marketing work. So obviously you want to automate everything you possibly can. One of the hacks that we use, and I'm going to make it actionable in a second, is we treat our software as if it was a person, like a colleague. So what do I want this software to do if it was a human being that's like literally sitting in that tool? How do I make this tech work as if it's an integral member of our team, right? And we all know marketing teams are buying more tools, right? About half of them bought some sort of collaboration and workflow tool. In many cases, these are slowing people down and not reducing work about work, let's be honest. And so the first thing you got to do is take stock of your stack, right? Make sure you know exactly what you have, see if you can consolidate those tools. But here's some kind of virtual colleague work that your tech tools can do. So routing tasks, like having to assign stuff manually via email, pinging people via Slack, hey, can you do this? Hey, it's now your turn to approve it. Hey, just a heads up, you're going to get a draft of the PDF for this webinar tomorrow. Can you make some time? Like, no one should be doing that kind of stuff. All of that should be handled by workflow systems through routing, right? Notifying you when things are updated. New asset just got added to the damn. You're a salesperson. Why does a field marketing person have to create a roundup email every week to send out to sales to let them know what new assets are added? Why isn't that just automated notifications that go out to sales? And playbooks, and we're going to talk about playbooks in a second. To me, playbooks are the game-changing thing for marketing teams, game-changing for us, should be game-changing for everyone, which is how you can automate all the standardized plays that marketing runs. So let's take a look at it. For Welcome, what we do is we have a series of, oh, sorry, this video is a little bit smaller than the screen, not sure what happened, but we have a standardized set of playbooks. Like we have, I think, 10 different playbooks. In this screen, you might be able to see some of them. So we have a playbook for webinars, playbook for product launches, playbook for surveys, sponsored events, physical events. We have playbooks for go-to-market launches on the product side. And for every playbook, there's a series of, it could be 10 activities In some cases, there might be 50 things that need to happen, right? For a webinar, every time we do a webinar, we need to do invitations, landing page, PowerPoint development, scheduling, set up the Zoom links, do the Salesforce campaign. There's all sorts of stuff we need to do. What we noticed was our marketing team was just doing this over and over and over again, manually, every webinar. But if you're trying to do a webinar every week or 100 blog posts every month like Sesco, you can't manually do that. And so we've created these campaigns, we've campaign playbooks, we've templatized the brief, we've templatized all the individual tasks. Within the tasks, we've even templatized the content. So really just plug and play. And every time we need to run a webinar, we just take that playbook, copy all the tasks over, and just hit go. And it's perfectly replicated every time. You're not going to forget a step. You don't have to do it from scratch. And these playbooks for us has saved us a huge, huge amount of time. And it also makes us, gives us back free time to focus on the most important thing. Of the 20 things you need to do for a webinar, the only thing that really matters is the material and the content good. Everything else is work about work. So how do you just kind of create these playbooks? And by the way, the playbooks, it's not just the campaign, it's the brief, it's the budget, it's the people, it's the workflow, it's the individual assets. You can templatize literally every part of it. So the second thing is automating your marketing integration. So here's just some examples that we hacked together during this pandemic. So what we realized is our marketing team had to talk to our web and engineering team, but they use Jira, we use Welcome, right? And that handoff created a lot of friction. So now we built the integration. So now anytime there's a marketing workflow, if it involves web and engineering, we go out and automatically create a ticket in the middle of our marketing workflow. It gets, it's a Jira ticket, it gets routed to the right engineering team. Collaboration happens across both platforms. Assets gets transferred across both platforms. And when the work is done, it comes back from Jira and advances the workflow in Welcome. Same thing with Marketo. We used to have to send our marketing team like the copy of the email, the images, the assets, the date, the instructions every single time. At some point we got tired of doing that. And we said, let's actually just build the entire email, build the snippets inside of Welcome and push those automatically. And there's a number of different integrations that are possible. Some people think these are, oh, it's so hard. I got to get my tech team involved. You should choose products that have out-of-box integrations. But even if they don't, there's a lot of middleware now, whether it's Zapier, whether it's Workato, whether there's a ton that they're basically no code tools that allow you to hook up various systems that even business people can do. Obviously, when it comes to Welcome, we build a lot of these integrations to help us. Again, to summarize, knock out those administrative tasks, use playbooks, use templates, and then seamlessly connect all your tools so it makes sense for your org. If you're curious about what these playbooks are that we run, if you send me an email at any point, now, later, if you're listening to this recorded, it's my first name, Shafqat at welcomesoftware.com. I can actually send you, hey, here are the 10 playbooks that we use. For each playbook, here's the 10 tasks, and maybe it'd be useful. But, again, we do all of this in our software, but we want you to, leave and get inspired. So just think about what are the manual tasks that you do that you can automate and take advantage of your current stack. All right, number 2, moving on. We're going to keep this going fast. So budgets get slashed suddenly, unpredictably. Happens to everyone. More than half the teams lost budget this year. And we hear it every single time we do a survey. Actually, just give me 1 second. Someone asked, can I share the email? So someone from our team, actually, I'll just type it in since I saw the question. I just realized, there you go. My email was just pasted into the chat. Now, please don't share it with the whole world. Only if you're a part of this, you'll be able to send me an email and I'll promise I'll respond. So if there's other questions in the chat, please do paste them in and I'll keep a better track of it going forward. So budgets. One hack that Sesco uses is this desert island question. He doesn't wait for budgets to be changed or strategies to be changed. he and everyone on our marketing team should always ask this desert island question. If he could only bring 3 things to a desert island, what would they be? So the equivalent is, if your AdWords budget was suddenly slashed 50% in 1 week, how would you spend it? If you have to then frantically figure out what you would do, that's obviously a very stressful position to be in. And so when it comes to Sesco, he has always had what he always stars everything, all his top priorities, whether it's in his editorial calendar. If there's 50 pieces being planned, he knows the most important ones stack rank. Whether it's in his AdWords budget, which ad groups are the most important, he knows which ones are the most important ones, right? So you don't need to waste time debating every time there's a change in strategy. And as an example, AdWords, when we had to change our strategy because we were running some huge experimental campaigns, and we were always putting budgets up, budgets down. So he just used historical data, and he would say, okay, what days are converting, what times are converting, devices, locations, keywords, etc. And he always knew, like in a stack rank group, that these are my top performing ones. So if ever I have to change budget, I'll just jump immediately to my Desert Island 3. Same thing with his content plan. Same thing with if they have 10 campaigns that they're running in the hopper, always know your Desert Island Desert Island list. All right, keeping moving. The problem is the daily grind. So what we found is every single day, the hardest part for marketers is just getting through that day. It's not like the big things, it's the small things of just like, what do I need to do today? What am I working on? What's the most important thing for my day? And that just solving those problems and the lack of ability to have that visibility simply was causing a lot of stress. And so what we started doing for all of our marketing team is we started creating individual saved views for them in our calendar. Now, you don't need to use our calendar. Could be any calendar, but obviously our calendar is what we use within Welcome. And so for Sesco, as an example, he noticed that he would have to understand or look through the entire marketing calendar, look at all the campaigns to figure out hey, what's important for me? I have a stressful day already. And so what he did was he created, Sesco's editorial calendar as a saved view. And so every single day he can just come in, toggle his save view, and he knows exactly what he's working on today, tomorrow, this week, next week, when it comes to content. All the other stuff that marketing is doing is invisible in this save view. But now think, if everyone has a save view, if the content team has a save view, the SEO team has a save view, AdWords team has a save view, it then provides optional visibility to the whole marketing organization. So our CMO can say, hey, what's Sesco working on? He just hits the content calendar save view. Oh, what are we doing in social? Just hit the social save view. What are our integrated campaigns that we're doing for sales and demand gen? He hits that save view. It reduces the work about work, because how many times do people ask Sesco, hey, Sesco, what does the editorial calendar look like? What content are we creating this week? What about next week? Hey, do you have the plan for the next month? Now, not only are these save views saving Sesco angst and time, it provides visibility to the entire organization. Of course, if it's a calendar in Outlook, it's more just a read-only view. But if you use a tool, whether it's Welcome or something like this, the additional benefit is someone wants to say, hey, can I see what that content's going to be about? They don't need to ping Sesco. They just click into one of these tasks and it goes directly into the content itself. And for Sesco, he can do his planning and his execution in one tool. For us, what we've noticed is being able to consolidate all of these tools into one place. It prevents having to swivel constantly back and forth. Oh, now I'm in a calendar. Now I have to go somewhere else to create the content. Now I have to go somewhere else to store it in my DAM. That is a constant kind of context switching that happens. And people go nuts. If you're context switching all the time, you need 20 plus minutes to refocus and maintain kind of focus. Context switching kind of makes you feel productive, but really it's just addictive. And so what our solution is, put everything that you do in one place, in whether it's, again, Welcome or other software, we're agnostic. You know, someone just asked the question of the saved views, are they customizable? They're 100% customizable, and I think they have to be customizable because otherwise it just creates noise, right? So we have views for each persona. We have views for each target audience. We have views for each internal marketing team. So anyone can slice and dice, and they basically can then answer their own questions. Like, no one should come to my marketing team and say, hey guys, are we creating any industry focused content over the next 3 months? No, they should just go to our calendar, go to the filters, choose the industry they're interested in, and it'll tell them, are we producing industry-based content? What industries, when? They just click through and they'll be able to answer their own questions. So that's really a principle to keep in mind, which is how do you enable the rest of your company to answer their own questions about marketing? I mean, let's be honest, the biggest question that the rest of the company has is, what do our marketers do all day? Even that, we now make it totally visible to the whole company, so no one should even be asking that question. All right, moving on. Number 3, ideation. So your idea well is running dry. What do? Well, when we were in the office, you know, people would sit around, and marketers do this all the time, and they'd sit in a room just like the one I'm sitting in, and people would lob out ideas. I think we should create content about X topic. Well, don't do that. Sure, judgment, gut, intuition, these things are important, but we think the best way to fill the idea well is through data-driven ideation. And yes, you might be like, well, that's kind of obvious. We should just use SEO or SEO data. What we found is SEO data and SEO-based ideation is typically relegated to the SEO team at most marketing companies. Whereas the campaign team, product team, content teams, they're not using SEO to do ideation up front. And not just for like your SEO focused content, but also for your campaigns that you want to run. So, you know, not only covering keywords and adjacent keywords, related topics, topic clusters, things that are adjacent to like the problems that you're trying to solve, but also looking at competitors, reverse engineering their content strategy. Super simple to do, whether you're using Welcome or SEMrush, like type in your competitor's domain and filter out their brand name. So let's say type in welcomesoftware.com, filter out anything that mentions the word welcome. All of a sudden now you can see our unbranded search strategy, and then you can reverse engineer what are keywords and topics that we're writing about. And you can do this again in Welcome or SEMrush or any of the SEO tools. I love doing unbranded search results for my competitors to see their organic SEO strategy. I use it all the time. And that helps us figure out not just content ideas, but entire ideas for campaigns as well. One other thing you can do is there's a lot of tools out there, whether it's Welcome or other SEO tools, where it allows you to look at what are questions people asking online. It's one of my favorite parts about our product, but I've seen it in some other products. So when you're running out of ideas, look at the question bank in SEMrush or Welcome, and you can literally write content pieces just directly answering questions that people are asking online. So this kind of online question bank is something that's available, as I mentioned, in a lot of different tools, but that's a great way to get new ideas as well. So exactly, so use data to kick off creative or content brainstorming, helping you kind of spot new opportunities. I think not enough people use search data in the creative process up front, especially outside of just pure play content teams. Even our product marketing teams sometimes use SEO data to figure out like what are objections or pain points or ambiguities or questions that people have. One other great way to use data to help you ideate is your sales team. If you're a B2B marketer, it's amazing how many marketers don't just go to your sales team and ask, hey, what are your top 5 objections that you keep running into? That should be great fuel for content. Or ask, hey, when you're in a sales demo or in a sales process, like what are some areas of confusion, questions that you get over and over again? let's just use that as a bank for content. All right, moving on. 3 R's. So, 3 R's, reuse, repurpose, and repackage. So another hack we've used a lot during the pandemic is to go through successful content and campaigns of the past and reuse this. And that's the question we always ask. And how do we reuse, repurpose, or repackage existing content? This is why you need a marketing dam. It can't be a Dropbox or box where assets go to die that you can never find again. But if you can slice and dice the content you have by your taxonomy, by personas, industry, stage of the journey, there's a treasure trove of existing content that exists that you can repurpose and recycle. And so when you're running low on ideas, always just go back to what you've done in the past and see what you can repurpose. I mean, repurposing is obviously great for SEO, but it's also great for case studies and sales enablement type content. Often we'll go to our blog and we'll see, hey, we interviewed a marketer about some other topic, but there's some great tidbits in there in the video that we can repurpose and repackage for a mini case study or a little video asset. And so I think your existing content is a treasure trove of ideas that often are completely disregarded by marketing teams, where we're just creating more new. All right, next one. So your priorities change. There's a big strategy, but how do you formulate the plan and ladder up against that strategy, right? Especially because there's shifts in strategy. 2/3 of marketers said that priorities have changed so fast in 2021. So what do? Well, we have a little formula that will help you determine, are you doing the right work, and are you doing just the right amount of the right work? Again, let's go back to Sesko. He uses this keyword family tree formula, which some of you will be familiar with if you're content marketers, but then we'll show you how you apply that more generally. So this is Sesko's application of it for content, right? He sets a target keyword, and this is based on kind of our understanding, research of our target personas, their pain points. We say, hey, we think content calendar is the keyword that we want to rank for. And then he creates what he calls the big mama piece. Sorry, I'm taking a sip of water. This often is also known as big rock content. And then what he'll do is for the big rock content, he creates all the adjacent content. There's DNA and links back to that big mama piece. And you might be thinking, well, this idea of big rock content has been around forever. What's new about this? Well, one small thing around the content application, and then the new part is how we apply this to the rest of our marketing org. But on the content side, people used to start with the big rock piece of content, but what we've changed is we've used intent keywords as the starting place. Not just keywords in general, but intent keywords. What are the highest intent keywords that will highlight to us that this person, this reader, has a pain point that we might be able to solve with our solution? Once we identify the intent keywords, that's the goal, and then we formulate the big rock content, versus the other way around, where it's like, oh, let's make a big rock piece of content about X and then hope it ranks. But again, this is an example where we might say, hey, content planning is a very high intent keyword. We do the ultimate guide to better content planning as our big mama piece, and then we'll create content planning workflow article, maybe a blog post about content reporting, maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet that we create, a template, and all of this links back to this content planning piece, which is the big rock piece of content that we have. And it can be applied in general, right? So every marketing campaign has a brief that looks like this. And by the way, all the briefs are templatized. They're in Welcome. So every time we create a campaign, someone on our team goes into Welcome, creates a new campaign. They're forced to fill in the brief. So we start with the key goal. And then the goal will always have one big push. and then a predefined number of supporting initiatives for that big push. And that's how we structure every marketing campaign that we do. So here's an example that our integrated marketing team had. So our big push is we want it to be, this is, I think, from a year ago, and it's happened every year since, but we want to be recognized as the leading content marketing platform, right? From Gartner or Forrester. So we did a lot around the big push. Then we had the main campaign was around the release of the report. And then we created a number of different marketing activities that were all centered around this big push and this main asset. We were the first to send out this report via email. We created a whole series about it. We did keyword targeting around it. We distributed it on social. We used the Magic Quadrant to generate free signups because we now have a free trial of our product. So another example of how we're using this. And we do this all in our software, right? So as an example, you're looking at the tasks that all ladder up to the MQ campaign of 2021. So this is our campaign workspace in which there's all these underlying tasks. And these tasks all ladder up in the hierarchy to the Gartner Magic Quadrant, which itself may ladder up to the Q2 integrated campaign. So we have this whole hierarchy of assets to activities to big rock pieces of content to campaigns that are then nested amongst other campaigns. So this hierarchy is really important because it allows you to make sure everything you're doing is tied to that overall strategy, not just of the marketing team, but of the company on the whole. So one recommendation that we would have is for every marketing campaign and actually for every marketing asset, when you're creating the brief. So first of all, create a brief. If you're not, start creating briefs. And in that brief, one of the goals should be that you have to pick which campaign that this ladder up to. And then which part of our strategy, company strategy, which OKR does this campaign ladder up to? So there should always be a level of nesting that the marketing team focuses on and deliberately pick in order to ladder up to different levels of the marketing strategy, which should then ladder up to the company OKR strategy. And it's just a good habit enforcing function. And just try this at your own marketing team. I challenge you to go back and look at the last 10 pieces of content, last 10 campaigns that you ran. See, if you were to go back and tag like exactly which campaign, which strategy, which OKR each one is assigned to, can you do that? Or is it just random acts of content, random acts of campaigns that's happening? All right, so that's the big question for you to go back and apply to your last few campaigns or content. I think this is the last one, which is problem number 6, I believe. Team has to execute faster, right? No time to completely overhaul, but we need to move faster. Now, half the marketing universe says they practice agile, so capital A agile. But the other half say the reason why they're not doing agile is they don't really know about agile best practices, or it's just like a lot of process overkill, which I hear all the time. You know, I'll be totally honest, we've wavered between full capital A agile and then small a just like being agile. And I think finding a middle ground is really what I think most marketing teams can and should do. So you don't need to dunk your whole team in, you know, the full agile methodology. So, and turn them into like agile robots that are, you know, running every single part of the agile discipline and practices and rituals. But you can take some baby steps, right? As an example, look at your goals and break them down into small sprints, right? So run sprints that maybe are 2 weeks long, set a clear start and end date for every marketing activity or asset or piece of content. You know, for those 2 weeks, assign it to a sprint. Have a sprint planning meeting at the beginning of the 2 weeks, and at the end of the 2 weeks, set up a meeting just to evaluate what happened, what worked, what didn't work, how did the sprint go, and that's it. And then when you use any task management system, if you use something like Welcome, you can just label all the work for the next 2 weeks for a given sprint. And so it's all organized under sprints. And you don't need to move to Jira all of a sudden because you want to do Agile. You should use marketing software, but just tag stuff as sprints and just run kind of more of these informal 2-week sprints, plan in advance and do a quick retro at the end to see what worked. We found that's a very simple way to get started. Make it fun, give each one of your sprints a fun name. These are just some examples, I think, from our engineering team. They just pick a theme and every sprint goes up by 1 letter. So for the first sprint of the year, it starts with A, then B, then C, etc. So you can see here, clearly they're a fun group. And you can do the same thing for marketing. And then, when you are doing your taxonomy or labeling your assets or labeling your campaigns in whatever system you use, if you happen to use a spreadsheet, maybe get a system, but until you do, just create a column, call it sprint, and just put the name of the sprint in it. And so at the end of it, everyone knows, like, hey, what did we set out to do this sprint? And what did we accomplish at the end of the 2 weeks? It also just creates a nice checkpoint and a cadence for you guys to take stock of, like, how are we doing? Again, the summary here is try and get Agile, small a, before you get Agile, big A, and then just start using, some of the Agile methodologies and best practices. All right, taking a breath because I haven't taken a breath in 40 minutes. We're gonna wrap up now unless there's any questions. So you've been remote for a while. We know struggle is very real. I empathize with all of you guys. Like, I hope you're taking care of yourself, your health, and your mental well-being. And we know that there's, a lot happening. And, the future of marketers, honestly, is gonna be more remote. 7 out of 10 marketing orgs say they're going to be remote through 2021. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I bet it's going to be some hybrid. So a lot of what we said will become more and more important, because when you can't brainstorm with people in a physical room, you can't just walk up to someone and say, hey, what are you working on? That's where things like shared calendars, like ultimate visibility across marketing and beyond marketing, so people know who's working on what, better planning, all of those things become more important in a remote world. So hopefully some of these ideas just will be practical for you in as you kind of step on the gas and try and move faster. But we also hope it'll kind of ease some of the stress, right? Ease some of the stress that we talked about that we know all of you are feeling. And that's all I have, unless there's any specific questions. I don't think there are. I have lost the chat window anyways, but we're going to wrap up. And what I will say is, again, if you email me at any time at shafqat@welcomesoftware.com, that email was pasted into the chat, I think, a little while ago. Oh, here, I found the chat. We will save it. We will send out this in a PDF as well. I think someone just asked, like, is this going to be sent? And we'll have the video as well. So we're happy to help. If you think our software might be able to help you in any way, this is not a sales pitch, because we do have free software now. You can go to welcomesoftware.com and sign up and try it out and just start using it. We have a version that will be free forever. And our mission is to really kind of unleash the potential of marketing teams everywhere. And to that end, we want as many people using it as possible. So anything we can do to help, let us know. Otherwise, it's 12:42. As I promised, we will give you back some of the time and share the deck with you. By the way, I'm getting a lot of pings via the Q&A and the chat about my email. So I'll just mention it one more time, or we'll paste it in one more time here. I will write it. And for everyone else, have a great rest of the day and good luck with all the hacks.